Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have my friend Kanisha here and we're going to be doing a traditional sewing. I am so impressed with the end results of this install that I really want to give you guys the most details so that you guys can achieve a style like this. The first part that I'm doing is going to be the part that she wants to be her natural part. And once I've done that, I go ahead and I part about an inch away of hair, and I'm using my comb as a guide to ensure that once that hair that is going to be left out is pressed, it does not show through and the tracks are not seen. So I use the tail of my comb as a guide to do that. And then I go on the other side of the original part and I part again about an inch away. And I curve it around almost to the center of the hair. That's where that curve ends, because we really want it to be a deep curved part, and her hair is long enough to cover the tracks and to look very natural once the style is complete. So what I do next is go ahead and braid that leave out the way, and this is hair that is going to be left out, is going to be pressed into the style, you guys. Once I finish braiding this out, I'm going to dive into the perimeter leave out, which is going to be the sides and the back. So, sometimes you could just leave it here and don't leave much hair out, but she wants to have the perimeter out so that she can put it in a ponytail. And as you can see, I'm using my comb again as a guide. Some of you guys might think, okay, that might be too far back, but I absolutely hate when the tracks are shown. So I don't mind leaving a little bit of extra hair out just so that the tracks aren't shown. And I'm sure a lot of clients would rather that than to be struggling to cover their tracks. Yeah, you leave a little extra out and I use my comb as a guide, and now I'm just kind of braiding it out. I left some out at the back, and then once I'm finished braiding this part out, I'm gonna go on the other side and do the exact same thing. However, the other side is a little bit different because the hair is going to be falling towards her face once I install the weave. So what I'm doing is, still leaving out the perimeter, but I'm not paying too much attention to if it's going to cover or not, because even when she puts it in a ponytail, it won't be a slick back ponytail. It will kind of be like a curved, banged ponytail. So we really don't need this hair to be too far back, but we do need enough hair so that everything falls naturally. And if she was to like pull it back, it's still not showing the tracks or anything. So I'll go ahead and I braid that out the way. This is hair that we are not going to be adding any tracks to. This is just her leave out. So now I'm diving into the anchors. These are the most important braids of this style. Any braid that goes around the perimeter is this considered the anchors, and they are very, very important. So I do want the anchors to be really, really thin because again, I don't want the tracks to be too high, especially close to where her leave out is. So we make these braids really, really small, and I'm using a new technique, you guys. At the beginning of the hair, I go ahead and I crochet a little bit of braiding hair at the tip of the anchor, and then I'm going to just braid it, use it as a guide to braid around the perimeter. One thing I would say after doing this technique, this is the first time I've tried this technique, I would definitely say I should have probably used some braiding hair in the first braid that I did, to make it a little bit stronger, because when I was finishing this style, I did see that it was stretching a little bit too much on her scalp, and I did have to cut the braiding hair, or the anchored braiding hair. So I would use this again. However, I would just do it differently. It did help with the seamlessness of the style. However, like, I'm not, in the business of pulling hair out. So that's why you want to talk to your clients and ensure that they are not in any pain, because once she expressed that, okay, it's a little bit too tight at the front, I went ahead and handled that real quick. And this is what I mean, guys. I pull the hair through, but the braid that it's pulled through on is not thick enough. It's not strong enough. So even though I lightly braided it down, once I started adding tracks and sewing it on, it became too much pressure for her. And so I kind of had to cut the connection between the two braids. So, all right, once I get to the back, I kind of start braiding in the ends of the hair. I went ahead and crocheted again on this side, and this wasn't an issue because by now we're a couple steps back from that first anchored braid. So that one I did not have to worry about. But the connection, as you guys can see, it looks seamless. It's going to help. But I just wish that that first braid was a little bit stronger. So these four braids is what I call my anchor. They are going to be the thinnest braids in her head, and they are going to be flat, and it's going to help the sewing. Once I've done that, I don't really care too much about the other braids in the center, but we're still going to make them small and neat and not too bulky. So I'm just going to braid them down. I'm going to braid it out, and then in each braid, I'm going to pull the end of the previous braid into it and braid it down. I'm going to keep that going. So as you guys can see, I'm just kind of, it's a bigger braid, but it's still a decent size for her hair texture. So her hair is not too thin or it's not too thick. So you don't want to, if you have really, really thick hair, you really don't want those parts to be too big because it's easy for the style to get bulky, and you don't want the back of a sewing to look too big or make the head look too big. So just be mindful of your braids, you guys. And so I'm going to take the top two braids and I'm just going to braid them. I'm going to use them as legs of my braid and just braid them down into that on the right side. As you guys can see, I took the braids from the left side, the two of them, and I started using them as legs, and I braided them down on the other side. And then I'm going to do that to the other two as well. So the two braids at the top right, I'm going to pull those down and I'm going to braid them, use them as legs for my braid, and I'm going to braid them down as well. And as I'm going, I'm still pulling that leg from the bottom into the braid because we have to do something with it. So I'm going to pull that one into the braid and just braid it down. And at this point, it's getting a little bit thicker, but no worries, guys. Like, it's going to be fine. All right, so now we're at the last one. So I'm just going to braid this down. I'm going to put both legs up into it. So the leg on the right and then the leg on the left. And I'm just going to keep braiding down. And once I have the end of this braid, I'm going to go ahead and sew it down to just kind of get it secured. So this is me sewing it down now, you guys. So the thread that I'm using is so very, very important to me because I've used other threads, but this thread right here is very strong. And when I do my sewings, I really do them to last as at least 2 months. So my sewings really last because of one, my foundation is really strong, and then two, the thread that I use, and three, of course, my method of sewing the hair down. So the thread is like a nylon thread, and I'll link anything that I use in this video for you guys so you won't have to search too hard to find it. But this is not a usual thread. It's hard to get used to. However, like, it's really, really strong. I've been using it for some years now and it's never disappointed me. So now I'm adding in the first track, and this track is doubled, you guys. So normally I try not to do double tracks, but I really, really did an amazing job with installing this. So that is two tracks. A track is folded, and I'm making sure that the first that I put in is anchored really securely, and then I'm going under, through, and then I wrap my thread around my needle twice. So every single stitch that I do is secure. Yes, it's a pain in the butt trying to take this install out, but you're going to get your money's worth because it's going to last. It's not going to slip. It's not going to um do anything. The thread is not going to itch you because it's not that, that cotton type of thread. But you're going to get a really secured install. So I went ahead and did the first lap in her hair, and when I came back around, I'm going to go past that first stitch. And as you can see, once I get to the edge of her hair, you guys, I separate the two tracks. So once I get to the edge, I'm going to separate the two tracks just because I don't want the edge to be bulky. So once I separate it, then I fold it over. So imagine if I didn't separate it and I had two tracks going and then I had to fold it over, it would be so big and so bulky. So I always separate it and go out a little bit, like an inch or two. I come back down and then I meet into that second track and then we put them together and fold them up. You guys gonna see a different example. So now I'm finished with my first bundle and this is what it looks like. And today we're using about 3.5 bundles of hair. So we're trying to put in as much as we can because she likes it really, really full. And so I'm on my second bundle and again, it is doubled. As you guys can see, my knots are very, very serious. As soon as I push it through, I go under and up, and then I put the thread around it a couple of times, once or twice. It depends on where I'm at in the scalp, I would say. So if I'm just in the middle, maybe I'll put make a one turn on it, but once I get to like the edge or something like that, I'll make it even more secure. So now I am on the edge, and again, like I said, I normally kind of leave one track behind for that. As you guys can see, I left the track behind and then I'm sewing up to like maybe like 2 inches, and then I'm going to have to flip it back once I get to a certain point. So I don't want to go up too far, you guys. I just kind of go out. And then once I get to a certain point, I decide, okay, I probably need to flip it right now. So once I'm at the edge of her head right there, I'm going to go ahead and flip it and sew it on top of the same braid. So once I'm sewing on the braid, like you guys see along the front, I'm kind of placing a track along the front of the braid just because I want when she flips it back, the tracks aren't pulling back with it. I want it to be just hair. And I think I have an example later on in the video of what I'm talking about. It's kind of called the seamless method, to where when you pull the hair back, you're not seeing any tracks at all. You're just seeing kind of like just hair. So again, I'm on the other side and I've left a track behind and I'm sewing all the way up to where it meets those two braids, but I'm gonna cut it. And once I'm in the front, you guys, I do cut the weft. I'm not that person that's gonna hang on to the weft for dear life. I don't want to compromise the style. I don't want a bulky sewing. So yeah, we don't mind cutting the wefts over here. I know some people, you know, if you have really, really expensive hair, you don't want to cut the weft. But once I get to a certain point where I feel like I don't want it to be bulky, I'm going to cut the weft. So yeah, that's just a little warning right there. I try not to cut it all the time, but especially in the front, I'm going to cut it. And then now I've met up with a second track. I folded it both over and now we're going um across her hair. And now I'm at the top, you guys, and I have, this is what I mean by that seamless. When I pulled it back, you can't really see the tracks. You're just seeing hair, so that when she does have her natural hair on top of that, you're not seeing any tracks. You're just seeing hair. I've done 3 bundles, so now I'm on my fourth bundle, and I'm not going to use all of it, clearly. Just going to use maybe half of it, and then I'm just going to complete the top. There I go. I'm cutting the track because I'm at the front. We're going to cut some tracks when we get to the top. So the first 2 bundles are safe until we get to that third bundle. That's when tracks start getting cut. Just so we can have that seamless sewing without having to worry about folding over and something being too bulky. So right here is where she, you know, started kind of complaining about those, the beginning of those 4 braids, and I kind of had to cut the connection between the braid that's surrounding the main perimeter and the braid that is along the hairline, like her forehead line. I had to cut. See, she's like tapping on it right there. So I did have to take that out and cut the connection. And once I cut the connection between them and re-sewed it on, she was perfectly fine. So I wasn't able to show that. I have like this panic thing where whenever something is going wrong, I tend to turn the camera off, which is very inauthentic. I really need to film that, but I feel like me telling y'all what the issue was is kind of still good, but I probably should have filmed it and showed you guys like, hey, I did have to cut that out and redo it. Um, yeah, so this is how the hair looks. So when she puts it in a ponytail, it's gonna look super natural. And I'm just spraying it with some hairspray because we're getting ready to straighten it first, and then we're gonna curl it. And I'm using my Babyliss Pro to straighten. I just got a brand new one, so I'm excited about that. So I definitely straightened the weave on like 430, 450, but when it comes to her hair, I might do like 410 or lower. Of course, to for the integrity of her hair, she does have natural hair. So yeah, I'm gonna spray some heat protectant on her hair, and then now I'm going to straighten her natural hair, and you guys are gonna kind of see how that falls. And then I'm gonna trim it up, you guys. I'm gonna frame it to her face and trim it to where like there's not a big difference between her natural hair and the uh the weave. So I don't want it to be like a drastic, like her natural hair is way shorter than the weave. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cut it a little bit. And I just love like when I'm doing this part and seeing that, oh, we have so much enough hair left out. The track is not showing. Yay. So your biggest thing when you're doing this style is yes, um, you know, we can cover the tracks, but if your client is having to consistently try to like do the most to cover the track, that's where the problem really lies. Like, so yeah, we could have had a thinner leave out and been able to still cover the tracks. But once they start doing it on their own, like, it gets a little bit harder for them. But having enough left out is amazing. So here I am, just kind of trimming it down a little bit, just so that when I curl it, it has a nice flow to it. And just so that when it's out, like, it doesn't look like a drastic change from her hair. All right, so now I'm gonna use my T3 and I'm on the biggest barrel that they have, and I'm going to just curl it, and yeah, we're almost done. She already looks beautiful, as you guys can see. This jet black, she did dye the hair jet black. Look at the finished look, you guys. She looks amazing. It looks so pretty. It looks so classy. She looks like a classy lady, like she's about to be about her business, the boss that she is. So it looks so pretty, you guys. It flows so nicely. Again, this is 3.5 bundles, and yeah, this is what 3.5 bundles look like. It's nice and full. And yeah, I love a traditional sewing. I just think this is the way to go. Like, y'all know I stopped doing wigs like that and frontals and stuff because I just feel like I love this style much better, and I just want to stay authentic to myself and what I love. And yeah, so if you've made it this far, to me, that means you like me. So go ahead and like the video, show your love, as well as comment in the comment section what I taught you in this video. If I taught you anything, go ahead and let me know what you learned, as well as if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.